I'm Vikki.
We're Forte.
And today we're talking all about the Boilermaker Road Race.
Let's get into it. First question. We're headed out to the 50th Boilermaker. Do you guys have any plans for the 50th Boilermaker, or is it a secret?
To be honest, it's not even a secret. It's just we haven't gotten through the 48th yet, and so we don't, but we will start soon. So very soon, I think as soon as this year's race is over, we're gonna start, figuring out like the real basics, right? Like there's a lot of pressure on what does that logo look like, and you know what I mean? Like there's all these like really basic things that we do it for every race, but it becomes even more special for the 50th. So honestly, nothing I have to report even yet, but soon, and I'm really excited because it is wild to think that this race has been around for 50 years. I mean, that's amazing.
50 years, and there are people who've done all 48 this year. 48 years.
Yes, so we have 7 perennial runners, which means they've run every Boilermaker since 1978, and all 7 are signed up to run this year for their 48th Boilermaker. So we're hoping all 7 are physically able to run until the 50th. I mean, that would be, can you imagine running the same race for 50 years in a row? It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy, yeah.
The same race for 50 years in a row.
Yeah, it's wild.
That is really cool. To see the changes over time too has got to be pretty special.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, I get to hear from my coworkers and the other runners that I meet, how much the race has grown over the years. I don't have a lot of context personally because the first year that I ran it was 2013, and by then it was a really massive event, very similar to what it is now. But even since then, a lot of things have changed, and just the way that people talk about the race has changed, and it's very cool to see how the race has evolved and like changed over even just that short amount of time.
Absolutely. You guys sold out this year. How many years, so sell out this year, previous years?
Yeah, so the one people always talk about is 2014. In 2014, the race sold out in 2.5 hours, and that was the 15K and the 5K, 19,000 spots gone in 2.5 hours.
I remember that because I was in college.
Yes, me too. I remember I was at a track meet, what year was that? Was I still in college then? It's probably 2013, I guess, that the first year I registered. We're sitting on the floor at RIT registering for the race because it's like you got to do it now.
Yeah.
But 2014 was the year it sold out incredibly quickly, and so multiple years have capped out, but the cap has changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so post-pandemic, the cap dropped back from 19,000 across both events to, off the top of my head, I think it was like maybe 10,000 initially, and like now we're up to 15,000 across both events.
Right.
We are, as of today, which is July 3rd, we are capped out for the 15K. So we have 10,500 runners signed up for the 15K, and then the 5K, we got about 200 spots left, give or take, and they're going fast, honestly. At this point, especially with drop downs, we save 500 spots for people who need to drop from the 15K to the 5K.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we're building up. I mean, as of this moment, sitting here right now, we are over 15,000 runners across both events. So it's awesome. It's really cool. Yeah.
It's a big year. We love that.
Yeah.
Sick. Okay. I've always wanted to know this.
Okay.
How do you get so many volunteers? I swear I hear more about the volunteers than the people who run it.
Yes. So the Boilermaker volunteer base is, I think, a really unique thing. Even so, I mean, we go to the Running USA conference every year, which is all these race directors and race organizers from across the country, and very often they are fascinated by how we get so many volunteers. And the truth of it is, the vast majority of the volunteer base have been volunteering for decades.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier to think about.
They love it.
Yes,
they
and
can't
it's,
get enough.
I mean, it's honestly, I don't even know if me sitting here now, if I can say why. Like, that's such a hard question, right? I'm sure the reason is different for a lot of people. I think the structure of our volunteers goes a long way. We have directors, we have people who are able to lead a committee.
Is there a tier to this? Like, can I be like a top, do I get the hot spot, like at the finish line? Do I get to hold the ribbon?
So holding the ribbon goes to our sponsors. So the various sponsors, we have the 15K presented by Excel's Blue Cross Blue Shield, the 5K presented by Utica National. They will hold the tape for their various races. But I mean, this is like, let's say our beer pourers come to mind because everyone wants to be a beer pourer for obvious reasons. And so, the person who oversees that, her name's Melanie Crisino, and she is the director of the beer pourers. And so she gets to take like this leadership role in finding the volunteers, communicating communicating with them. So there's like certain tiers. You can be a director, you can be a coordinator, you can be just a general volunteer who just shows up on the day and that's all you do. So there's like different amounts of responsibility for what you are looking for. And also something I don't think people realize is how many different tasks there are to put on for a race. There is a whole committee dedicated to picking our elite athletes up from the airport. Just like, who would think of that as like an independent, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
not going to drive themselves.
Well, they're flying in some cases. We've heard stories of people taking like 7 flights to get here from Kenya. It's like, because it's not an easy place to get to. And so once they're here, we want to make sure that their trip is as smooth as possible to get to their accommodations at Utica University. So, but there's just all these committees that you just wouldn't think about. So it's interesting.
Uber has arrived, and it's someone who is really excited to tell these elite athletes about Half Moon cookies and Utica beans.
Right. It's a Boilermaker volunteer in a van.
I love that.
I mean, and that's a job, So. There really is something for everyone. I do a lot with our merchandise volunteers. So there's there's things like that where you're a cashier, you can be a beer pourer. We have our green team, which they literally just help us keep the trash contained at the post-race party, which is like another thing I think people don't think about. There's there's a lot of trash, obviously, but also there's different kinds of trash. There's the returnables, and there's the regular garbage, and then there's the compost garbage, and it's like, how do we make that as efficient as possible for, the waste authority, which they have to come in and eventually clean all that up. So there's just so many different things that come into play and that you can do as a volunteer, which is kind of fun too. Like if you are somebody who's looking for just, even something for a resume or something, like you can do a lot of different things as a volunteer. So.
Heck yeah. What's your favorite merch design of all time?
Oh gosh. Hold on, I need a second. All time is hard, but this year we have one that I think is really fun. It is, okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a Star Wars person. I've not seen Star Wars, but the design is Star Wars reminiscent of like that text that's kind of going towards the screen, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's the finish line, and it says, "The end is beer."
Nice.
So it's cute. I mean, like, it's funny. I think it's funny. So I think that one will be great. I really liked in 2023, we did this whole line. I really wanted a shirt that was reminiscent of a band t-shirt. Like I almost said former, but really like still an emo kid at heart. And I have a lot of band shirts, and I really wanted like something in that style. And it was the year of the detour. If you remember that, we had a little detour due to construction. And so we did 2023 year of the D tour, and it was like that was the tour, and it was like and the dates on the back of the shirt were the streets of the race, and I love a theme, so I was like, I loved that everything kind of played into the theme of it's a tour and it's a musical act and the year of the tour dates, so I really liked that one too. That one was fun. But I got to give a little shout out to Ryan McGrogan Designs. He does all of our design work. I come to him with unhinged, half-formed ideas, and he turns them into something that make any kind of sense. So, we really couldn't do it without him. I'm not a designer. I just get the vibes and then try to do something.
Weirdest runner costume you've ever seen? Like, I feel like it's someone dressed up in a noodle.
Have you seen that? Oh, okay. I thought that was
that was a thing.
Okay.
That might be like the Mandela effect.
I mean,
like the Riggy run, and there was my brain's like, oh, of course, someone's dressed up as a noodle at the Boilermaker.
Well, to be fair, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So, off the top of my head, I mean, you can't talk about costumes and not talk about. I think his name is Matt Kochan. He puts the can on the Saranac can. And he's got his whole crew with the cans. I mean, you can't not talk about them. Like, that's so... I can't imagine running with that thing on you.
Yeah.
It's like made of like PVC pipes, and there's like a thing over, because he's like a full can.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, I feel like that you got to mention them. But I remember one year there was a whole group of people who dressed up as lifeguards, including floaties. And they had like whistles and visors and lifeguard shirts and like floaties around their waists and like on their arms. And I just was like, the commitment to the bit. Again, I love a theme. I'm like, that's amazing. I mean, we always get someone who's dressed up as Santa, Christmas in July, Forrest Gump is a popular one. Various fruits, bananas, There's always there was a guy dressed up as a pickle.
Nice.
I think it was last year, maybe the year before. So there's always just.
Yeah.
I give so much credit to people who wear costumes because it's just got to be so hot in there.
That's where I get confused with the noodle. It's like
Maybe.
It's like slightly cylindrical.
Like a riggy. Yeah. I could see that.
Like a riggy.
Like a riggy with a Utica Club wrapper on it. It's normal. Normal things.
An excellent
Utica things.
An excellent Boilermaker trope.
Exactly. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. What's at the Saranac post-race party lineup here with reference to beer? What beers are at the lineup? Is it the same as usual?
So it is not actually. So this year,
whoa!
I know, it's wild. So you know what I didn't know though was that the Saranac did not start putting Utica Club at the post-race party until 2022. That was the first year they ever had Utica Club. Before that, it was various Saranac products, because they're all, technically it's FX Matt Brewery, and then everything's kind of segmented out, and they have all these brands underneath them now. And so they did, I have memories of, I think it was 2016 maybe, they did Blueberry Blonde as the beer, which is one of my favorites that they offer, but it attracted all the bees because it's sweet, so they used to do a different beer every year, and there was a big announcement, and in 2022 we kind of moved towards Utica Club because it is such a favorite. It is something that goes down so easy, and it's just really we had it at my wedding, and I had a lot of people from out of town who were like, oh, this is good, what is this, where did this come from, it's good, it just is a very people pleasing kind of.
Yeah.
But so we actually just talked to Mark from Saranac this past week. We do a little podcast ourselves, the Mile Marker, just to talk about Boilermaker information. It's only around the race.
Where can we listen to that?
It is on Spotify. If you're registered for the race, you get the Mile Marker email in your inbox every Thursday night, and there's a link in there as well. But so we've been trying to do some interviews, and we talked to Mark, and I won't rehash that whole discussion, but he talks a lot about this beer called Weekend Warrior that they've just come out with. And the whole idea behind it was that when you finish a race, your taste for beer is a little bit different than it might be in a normal setting because you're mildly dehydrated. You're planning to stay at the party for a little bit of time. You need something that you want the full flavor, but you don't want the slam of an IPA. That's 9% alcohol. So Weekend Warrior is a little bit lower. It's 3.5, somewhere in there, but it's got that full flavor, and that's what they'll be offering at the post-race party this year. I believe they still will have Utica Club as well, but Weekend Warrior is really what they're pushing out there.
So the biggest celebs in the Boilermaker: Frank Shorter, Bill Rogers.
Yes.
Governor of New York.
Oh, yeah, Patterson, right?
Governor of New York Patterson ran.
The governor of New York, Patterson,
Ran with a guide because he was blind.
ran with a guy because he was blind. What year was that?
Somewhere in the 2000s,
Yeah,
mid-2000, 2005, 6?
There we have it.
Sounds right.
Some celebs for New York. That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Gary. It's been crazy, something wild you threw out there, and they were that'd be so cool if we did it, and then it didn't happen.
I mean, I've tried to do certain things, and then we haven't done them because honestly, they just end up being too expensive for what someone would pay. I really wanted to do one of those clear fanny packs one year because I'm just I would use that. That's a cool thing, but it's depending on how many you're ordering and whatever, sometimes it just ends up being what you'd have to sell it for is just so much more than someone would pay reasonably. How much would you pay for a fanny pack?
Yeah, I don't know the fanny pack.
$10? I don't know.
What the market rate?
Yeah, and it's
Lululemon.
those are $40. They're expensive. That's different. For a fanny pack,
I feel it'd be $60. People can do it a lot of wild pricing these days, man.
I really hope Eric comes to shop in my store. I could sell him anything.
You might be able to.
Yeah.
Where's my $60 fanny?
Yes.
Okay. So you're at Boilermaker when?
And you see the thousands of people at the post-race party, and you have a little stack of beer in your hand. You know, like it's a whole sensory experience. I feel like that tells you that you're there. I guess an alternate answer. I feel like people really associate like the golf course climb and descent with the Boilermaker. So, you know, when you're running away from the snakes at the top of the golf course because the zoo brings their snakes out, that's when you know.
I knew that.
Yeah, they usually bring animals out right by the zoo, so you can run away from them.
I know you're a Boilermaker when you can smell it and feel it.
Yes.
It's the most Utica thing about the Boilermaker that out-of-towners just wouldn't get.
I would say that the spectators, I mean, you're running this race and people put their names on their shirts, people are screaming your name, they're trying to hand you, which we do not co-sign, but like they're handing you food in some cases and cans of Utica Club on the course and popsicles and shooting, like using their hose to spray you. I mean, it literally is just like this community event where people come out and like you feel that energy even as a spectator, you know? So yeah, I feel like that's a big one. You know, mine was like vomiting. A lot of people throw up at the finish line.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vomit at the finish line. Yeah.
I know the craziest thing I've seen at the Boilermaker.
Yeah. Yes.
I couldn't believe this. I thought it was staged because of like how it like went down. I was at mile 2 at the Boilermaker last year, and I was probably running like a 7:30 pace. So I was pretty relaxed. So I don't know what time it's going to put me at, or if there's anyone who's captured this moment or can like also agree with this. Put this in the comments if you managed to see this or heard about it. There was a fight mid-run, like a fight. I swear I thought it was
like a fight with runners
between two runners. I was going along. These two guys come flying by, and all of a sudden, one guy takes a swing at the other guy. And I was like looking around. I was like, yo, like where is the camera? Like where's the TikTok? Like, and no, the guy who took a swing stumbled, and the other guy grabbed him by his shirt and spun him around and like threw him like toward the like curb.
Oh my
this
God.
Guy comes back, takes another swing, knocks the guy's glasses off, and then a third guy comes running in. This is when I thought it was staged, because I was like, oh, here's the guy who's gonna like break it up, right? And then he like yelled at these two guys and like threw them apart, and then they just kept running. And I couldn't believe that this like happened, unfolded like mile 2 at the Boilermaker. I was looking around, I was like, did everyone else see this? Everyone else was just running like they didn't see anything. I don't know, man. That's been my craziest story. I saw someone like try to fight someone at the Boilermaker last year.
If you think that Eric was actually hallucinating this, drop it in the comments. 'Cause you being the only one who saw it makes me think heat illness, not
Is this
actual fight. I don't know. I can confirm we've never heard about this if it did happen, so I don't know.
Maybe I am on something.
So I am the community outreach and marketing manager for the Boilermaker. That means a lot of different things. We're a small staff, so I do all of our community outreach programs, which is the Access program, the Charity Bib program, some of our youth events. I also do all of our merchandise for the organization, and then I also help with marketing. I do all of our social media, and then also help with our website, and also a million other things, because that's what you do at a small nonprofit. So,
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Sick.
What would you say makes the Boilermaker special from the other races?
I think there's a couple things. The first things that come to mind are, one, the amount of spectators. We hear all the time people will come and they are not expecting that the whole course is lined with people. We've heard it compared to the New York City Marathon, and I've run the New York City Marathon. I will say it's not quite that level. We're not like 5 people deep the whole way around the course, but it's very close. Like, you are not alone for any moment of the entire race, which I think is really hard to conceptualize if you've never experienced that. And then the post-race experience. I think that there's no party like a post-race party at the Boilermaker. Like, it is truly something that really, I think, sets the event apart from other races. I mean, it's 4 hours, free beer for your friends and your family, and you as the runner, food, concert, Showtime will be back this year. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's a whole day experience. It really is like Christmas in July. And we always have a hard time explaining what it's like if you've never experienced it.
For someone that hasn't ever experienced Boilermaker, what's the origin of the Boilermaker, I guess?
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it short because obviously it's somewhat of a long history. But so the Boilermaker started back in 1978. Utica Boilers, which is their old office, is down by the start line of the Boilermaker. They wanted to celebrate their 50th anniversary, and so they decided to do that. The late 70s was a big running boom, and so they decided to do a road race. And they basically, the course is because they wanted to go from Utica Boilers, which is their office, to the makers of Utica Club, and that used to be the slogan, was Utica Boilers to Utica Club, and that just happened to be 15K. It happened to be 9.3 miles, and so the first Boilermaker had something like 700 to 800 runners, and it has grown exponentially, obviously, since then. This year we'll have over 15,000 runners. Back in the 80s, Bill Rogers came and ran the race, and he won. And that brought an elite field to the event, which is also something it's known for, is we're part of the pro circuit. So we have really amazing elite athletes that come to the race every year. And yeah, so that spurred the elite field, and then it just kind of has grown from there. I think it's in a great time of year where there's not a lot of other races in July. You know, it's second Sunday in July. That's not for obvious reasons, because it's hot. It's not an time you would think of to put on a race. And I really think it's that community support. People just, there's nothing like the Boilermaker and the way the community uplifts it,
Right.
So, yeah.
From it being a community-focused event where it's got this deep tradition of like being a Utica thing,
Yep.
with also expanding to a more national, international level.
Yeah.
What's the marketing strategy when it comes to that?
Yeah, so I think you have, and I'm going to generalize a lot, but you have two groups of people on the whole. You have people who, they run the Boilermaker because they want to run a faster time, right? They're in pursuit of a PR, they like to train, they run frequently throughout the year, and many of them follow professional running, and they really are into the fact that, John Career, the winner of the Boston Marathon, is going to be back at the Boilermaker this year, So there's that kind of subset of people, and then there's people who, there's extremes to this, and the farthest extreme is I run once a year and it's the Boilermaker and I don't train, and we don't recommend this, but you don't train and honestly, you don't care about the elites. That's just not what you're there for. You're there for the experience for yourself and to have a good time and to enjoy the post-race party. Yeah, get your medal. Like, you're more into that side of it. And there's obviously, it's a spectrum, right? Like, those are the two ends of it, I would say. But so it is really like talking to both ends of that spectrum. And I mean, that comes out in a lot of ways. We'll try to, we have our local media and they do a great job kind of talking to a more broad audience. We also, Citius Mag is going to be at the race this year covering it for their various newsletters, and they're more of the, serious runner side of things where you follow the sport as a sport. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of people who don't consider running a sport, you know what I mean, that you would like follow as a viewer. So that's one of the ways too. And then also, like, just in social media content, we will put out content, especially this time of year, around the elite fields. And for certain people, they're not interested in that, and that's fine. We also will put out stuff about the beer that's going to be at the post-race party, right? So you like just talking to both people, but they're both valid reasons to run. And I think everyone falls, again, in the middle of that spectrum somewhere, so.
And that, I guess what would attract a non-athlete / non-runner? You have a big, large group of those non-athletes, like you said,
Yeah.
only run once a year, Boilermaker,
Yeah.
never trained before, end up walking half of it, and just there for the party.
Yeah.
The party atmosphere obviously attracts them, but is there anything else you think that cultivates, or is there anything from your end that you guys work on to cultivate that?
To be honest, I don't think this is a unique answer, but peer pressure. Peer pressure is a really crazy thing. A lot of our comments on like posts on Facebook or whatever, especially early in the registration cycle, are people tagging their friends to gently bully them into running together, running as a group. And I also think that there's an element, like once you get in, and often it's because you know someone who's run it, like the Boilermaker is a really unique event compared to other events of its size in that 75% of our field every year are returning runners. So only 25% of people are brand new in a given year, which is crazy. I mean, the industry standard's like 20%. returning.
Okay.
So we are well above that, I think, because once people experience it, what starts to happen is you have the Boilermaker streaks, right? Like we have our perennials. We have 7 people who've run every Boilermaker since 1978. So they're going to run their 48th this year. But we also have people, I actually just met someone, right, Ryan? Is that his name? Right, Ryan. Ryan's done 30 Boilermakers, you know, which I don't even think I knew. Like, actually, maybe even 32. I think he said 93 was his first one. So, like, there are a lot of people like Ryan who have these streaks and they've run every year and they can't imagine their life without the Boilermaker the second Sunday in July. Yeah, and it's also for a lot of people we hear it's like a family reunion too. It's like they've moved away from Utica, but they all come back Boilermaker weekend. Yeah, because it's summer, right? Like it's a good time for a family reunion. And what better place than a place where they supply the beer for 4 hours?
Exactly.
I mean, I would host my family reunion there too.
I mean, speaking from myself, I'm not necessarily from this area. I'm more towards Capital Region.
Okay.
And I go to school in Utica now.
Okay.
So I've been here for about 2 years. And I've never run the Boilermaker before. This is going to be my first time.
Oh,
because of
yay.
the kind of peer pressure aspect.
Yep.
Getting this job here and everybody else being runners and everything, I was like, all right, I kind of have to do it. And then, you're right, it has like, I've probably run more this summer than I've ever run before in my life.
Sure, to get ready.
Pretty much purely from peer pressure, so that makes sense.
So the first year that I did it was 2013, and the only reason I did it, I went to Utica University and I was running the track team I had walked on. I had like found running and I was like, I like this, whatever. And it's Utica, so I walked onto the track team. And the whole team was like, you're coming back for the Boilermaker, right? Because I'm from New Jersey, so I was not local. It was kind of hard to get back up here for July. And I did. I took my 5-hour train ride from New York City up to Utica and ran the race, and I was hooked. And then I came back every year, and now obviously I live up here, and it was an easier trek once I lived up here, but I couldn't imagine missing it, you know, and but that first year was because everybody else was like, well, you're doing the Boilermaker, right? And I think that happens for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah, and actually I know specifically some people that are actually from like Jersey and different areas that they did it last year because they went to Utica, and now they're doing it this year. And it's like that reunion aspect even with college students.
You wear your old jersey and and it's like you get to feel like, you know, like an athlete again. Your whole team's there. So it's kind of fun.
Have you noticed, I guess necessarily from the past years so how long have you been doing
with the Boilermaker?
Yeah,
So I started in January of 2022. So this will be my 4th race that I've helped put on. About 3.5 years I've been there, and I've run 9 Boilermakers myself. Yeah.
Speaking from all that experience, I guess, have you seen a shift in necessarily the people that run the Boilermaker, or a shift in the atmosphere around it?
You know, honestly, not really, I don't think. I mean, I know post-pandemic, there was definitely a little bit of a shift in, I mean, our field size was smaller. You know, coming out of the pandemic, I think there was a lot of, like the 2021 and 2022 races weren't even a year apart because 2021 was in October, and then 2022 was back in July. So there was just a lot of, I mean, I think we all felt it, right? Like there's a lot of weirdness because of the pandemic. And so just getting people back into the habit of running. So like those couple, like my first year was 2022 where I was behind the scenes of the race, and you know, the field size was smaller, and we would hear from people that, you know, like the pandemic broke their streak. And so it was like, I don't know, like I didn't do it last year and like the world didn't end. So, you know, you just gotta get out of the habit. Like you just broke the streak.
Gap from COVID of like 2 years that almost just meshed together where you were like, this limbo.
Or maybe you weren't, you know, I heard from a lot of people too that they were like, you know, I didn't really run as much because my gym was closed or whatever it was. And I'm sure like finances play into that too, you know, like the pandemic I know was hard for a lot of people. So I would say more of the field size, you can kind of see that change. But again, we're lucky enough now in 2025, we're still seeing that same 75%, you know, returning runner rate. We're still getting people from across the country, you know, multiple countries. So not a lot's changed in that regard. It's just the field size has shifted with what's going on in the world. So,
has there been any story or specific race, in particular, or person in the race that's like stuck out to you in the past few years that you've been part of it that sticks with you or taught a lesson to you outside of just the Boilermaker?
The one that comes to mind is, so I helped, so in 2022 we launched a program called the Access Program, and this is targeted to people who want to participate in road racing events but can't afford it, so they can't afford entry fees and also sneakers. And so we've partnered with the sneaker store. They help provide the sneakers for the program. And I think it was in 2023 we worked with the center, and we always work with the center. They're amazing. And we had a group of people who, I remember too, they were siblings. They had just come over from Afghanistan less than 6 months before, and they were reestablishing in Utica, and they got to run the Boilermaker. And that was one of their first kind of community event experiences, and they were just so impressed, and it was just such a cool thing to see that, like, that's their first impression of what it's like to live in Utica. Like, what an amazing first impression. And yeah, just like that perseverance. They'd never run a race before. They literally just got to the country, and they're, signing up for this program to do this new thing. And I feel like we can all learn a lot from that. Yeah, that attitude, yeah.
Their endurance.
Yes, endurance in a whole different kind of way. Yeah.
Where do you see the Boilermaker going long term, 5-10 years in the future?
It's a big question. I think we are still so much like rebuilding post-pandemic. I feel like we're just about there. We're like almost to the place where it's like, it really, even like last year especially, 2024, felt like the old vibe, like the pre-pandemic vibe, the vibe that I remember from running the race. And so I think it's just, now that we're back, how do we just keep making the experience and the value, keep it like top notch? Because that is what the Boilermaker is known for, is that experience, the post-race party, the value that you get with the race. The opening price for the Boilermaker has not gone up since 2015. It is the same opening price for 10 years. And that's really important to us.
Yeah.
And so but for we want to be the best race for, what you're putting out there, because we know there's a lot of other races out there, and we are so appreciative to anybody who chooses to come run the race. So just continuing to improve that experience is always the goal.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Huge thanks to Vikki for coming in, talking Boilermaker with us today. Last words, what do we got?
And if you've never run the Boilermaker, I hope that this convinced you to at least look into it, because it truly is an experience like no other. It's so hard to put into words if you've never been there. But we hope to see you there soon, because it really is. It's the best race. I'm going to say it. It's the best race.
Absolutely is. Utica's biggest athletic event.
Yes.
See you at the start line.